Good morning, everyone, and welcome today's speech. Today is online for Facebook and YouTube, live actually, YouTube broadcast and Facebook Live. Next weekend, it's going to be next Sunday. It's going to be on site. It's on our new address. It's 2A Irish Town Road in Ringsend, Dublin 2. So, and today I'm gonna about love your neighbor. It's gonna be a general Spiritist review and how this is the most difficult commandment for all of us, and how this we can achieve, how this is a tool for our spiritual progress, which is our main mission when we reincarnate on Earth. Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to start with our initial prayer. If you would like to sit comfortably, take a deep breath, connect with the spiritual world, with your mentor. Take this opportunity to be grateful for everything you could achieve. Thanks. Take this chance as well to ask for help on your mission, on our path to become better version of ourselves. I'd like to ask the spirituality that's in here today with us to guide us, to bless us, and to help us. So be it. Okay, so let's gonna start. Love your neighbor. So, let me see. Wait, it's not going. I have to leave the cursor here. I have to do it like this. There we go. Now, let's gonna start with the greatest commandment. So everyone, even if you're religious or not, you heard this. This is the most important thing for Christianity. So, and he said to him, "You shall love your Lord, your God, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and the first commandment," which is the first commandment that Moses gave to us. "And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets." So, of course, when Jesus said that, he said, all the other command, why you say Moses was wrong and everything. Of course, it was for the people at that time very contradiction, and some people took him as a not, being, he was, we have to remember that time was Judaism in the area, so there was no Christianity yet. Christianity came after him. So this is what the Jewish people got from God, and it was kind of progressive too much, but it was the time we think that they were not prepared, but that's how changes happen. So we think we're not prepared, but we are. We just were too much focused on other things than on the right thing, and then we need a big challenge break to say, like, wake up, wake up for the truth, what really matters. So at that time it sounded really too much progressive, and then of course a lot of people didn't like, because it was breaking the 10 commandments and everything. So, but this is the most important, because he never said the law, that you had before, it's wrong. He said, this is, on those two commands depend all the law and the prophets, so that's why he said, all the 10 commandments, the 9, because the first is love God above yourself, is resumed. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And this is just a very simple phrase, but there is a lot to take from this one. There's a lot to understand. And this is the hardest one. How you gonna love someone that really hurts you? How you gonna love someone that doesn't, it's not, you don't have any affinity with this person? This is for everyone. There's no one on earth that, can master this as Jesus did. That's why he's our role model. He's our, um, he came here, they said, to save our sins. Yes, he did that. But that wasn't the most important. The most important thing was, through me, you get to heaven. And when he gave to, you get to the better place. When he gives this one, this very simple parables, he's saying to us, try as hard as you can to follow this, and then you're gonna find yourself in heaven. Now, we know in Spiritism we have other understandings of hell and heaven. We, it's much more complicated than going to up to the skies or down underground. It's much more than that. But our speech today is not about this. It's about love your neighbor. So let's gonna start off one of the laws. God, there's sometimes we call nature law, and we also call God's law. So in nature, God's law are immutable. You can't change, and they are there, and they literally rule the universe. Everything we know and we don't know, it rules, and it's changeable. So there's this law, which is a law of love. It's in the Gospel according to the Spiritism, chapter 11. You see, there's the whole chapter talking about this. So I'm just going to take just some extract to make the point I want to make. So for spiritual progress, instincts become sentiment, which are more or less elevated. From instincts, we're going to pass through emotions and then sentiments. Love, being the finest sentiment that exists, summarizes the complete doctrine of Jesus. So what do we take from this? Love is like we are born. Our moral progress is always toward love. This love that I'm gonna explain. So it's gonna put up in there. But how do we get there? We in spirituality, we are not the same as animals. We are human beings, and the only difference is that we have spiritual knowledge. We come with this principle, and when you study anthropology or any philosophical, you see that the difference between human beings and animals is that we know we are born and we're gonna die. No other animal has this knowledge. This is a bit of the spiritual knowledge we as a human being have on ourselves. That's how we evolved. Now, so and we evolve from instincts. What is instinct? Instinct is all the reactions we have to protect our lives. Everything. In nature, we see this clear, black and white. All animals act in instinct. So the reason they're gonna kill someone else is to protect themselves, to save from starvation, protection, So that is the instinct. Instinct is a protection. So we come from instinct. But we evolve from that. We start to develop emotions, and we see some animals developing emotions as well. not not as much as elaborate like a human being, but it is, it's all part of the progress. But just like us, animals, plants, and minerals, they all evolving. It's all part of the evolution. But so just to wrap up this one, it's part of our moral progress, our spiritual progress. We come from instinct only, we develop emotions until go to sentiments. So sentiments is a little bit more elevated than emotions and instincts because we just not feel, we think, and we resonate. We we take actions with our sentiments that are different from instinct actions. Instinct actions is straight away protection without thinking. Sentiments, there's more thinking. This is what makes us human being. The thinking. It's all connected to duality. With our spiritual uh, principle. We carry on saying that animals doesn't have soul or not. No, we're not saying that. It's about the spiritual principle, what makes us think, what makes us be a human being. So but let's gonna dedicate. So love, what is love? The most delicate aspect of sentiment is love. So as I said, so sentiments are all a bit much noble, elevated emotions that we express, that we live with. So sentiments we take, and love is the delicate apex of sentiment. Is the most one. It's our goal. Our goal is to get to true love. And then we don't talk about not the vulgar sense of the word, but the inner sun, which condenses and reconciles all aspirations and superhuman revelations at its ardent focal point. So I know it's a lot to take in, a lot of words here, but let's gonna take. So love being the most apex sentiment, and I heard that from other people religions, that it's God's love. God's love, it's very similar to what parents feel for their children. So it's like when we have kids and we are able to love them. Because we know there's lots of things that happen. So this love is the fine sentiment, and it's just because it's the unconditional love. Wherever your kids are gonna be, you're gonna love them. And when I say this, it's not easy. It's not every parent also actually feels that way. It's not something we I'm not saying like, oh, every parent's like this, because we know there is domestic abuse, violence, homophobia, in the family. But if you really feel God's love, you would feel this unconditional love. And that's why when he say love your neighbor as yourself, he's saying that this is God's love, is what God love of God for us, his children. We are all his children. So, and when we talk about this, we talk about exactly the sentiment of love, and how it is so complicated and difficult. Yeah, it's easy for me to love my own kids. How can I love this unconditionally someone that hurts me, someone that hurts a lot? It's really, really difficult. But that's why we are here. We are here exactly to work this, to be able to evolve spiritually, that we can love anyone, like this. It's going to take a long time. Don't worry, it's not going to be the next 2 or 3 reincarnations. It's going to be the next 1,000 reincarnations. We're going to be able to achieve that. But that's the other law we have, the law of progress. We're going to be giving the chance, every chance we need for everyone, whatever we did. It's gonna be given. Some of us, it's gonna make better choices. It's gonna go a little bit faster. Some of others, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna make all the best choices, and we'll have to go all the way around. But our purpose on this life and all the other lives is to be able to act with this finest sentiment, which is love, God's love. And so, what is love? So, love is a divine essence, and everyone, from most humble to the most elevated, has a spark of sacred fire in the bottom of the heart. I truly believe when God says, when the Bible says God made his in semblance, he was talking about this love. He made us with love. We have this principle at the bottom of our heart. And as much as we think that, especially because we judge a lot, we think that that person doesn't have any love, they do have. That person have. It's there at the bottom. They haven't awakened yet, haven't been touched yet for many reasons, but it is. And it's hard for us to see someone that, it's hard even for us to know the harm we did to others. It's much easier, to reflect this on the next, on our neighbors than us. So just to tell how complicated and difficult it is, this thing. So, oh, I see. There's welcome, welcome. It's, nice to see. Some people come. So, love is the divine essence, and everyone, from the most humble and most elevated, has a spark on it. So we all have God in us, in the bottom of our heart. However, we come from, being in our evolution, being trying to work our instinctions to emotions to get to sentiment. So that's why sometimes we forget, we let that one a little bit. But once it's touched, we can bring this. It's within us. And this is why everyone has the potential. No one's better than other. Everyone has the potential. Everyone is gonna get to the final line to experience love as the finest sentiment. We all gonna get, because we all have this. There's no one better than the other. We are just in different paths depending on the free will. We have free will. God gave us free will. On the free will, we actually are given the choices, and every choice we do, there's consequences. So sometimes that's the thing. We are the obstacle for our own path to progress. But let's gonna go. So I talked about love. Let's gonna talk the opposite, selfishness. And selfishness, every wrongdoing can be traced back to selfishness. Study all the vices, and you will see that selfishness is at the root of them. And that's one thing we need to tackle. This is the thing that prevents us from loving our neighbor as ourselves, because we're selfish. Sometimes we're so selfish that we can't even love ourselves. How can not loving ourselves? How can we love the other? It's really a way, that it's when you know this, you are aware of this. It's easier for you. You start to think, oh yeah, and I acted this as a It was an act of selfishness, even it's a little one, sometimes unintended. We're not bad people, not evil. You know, evil don't come. There is evil, but they are not allowed to reincarnate. We only reincarnate if we have a purpose here, and the purpose is not do evil. We do evil as an act of selfishness. So that's what we have to tackle: selfishness. So every wrongdoing can be traced back to self. But why we are selfish? If we look back on first where we came from, as I said, we are different from animals. We are human beings because we have the spiritual principle. So before we are animals, we evolved, developed, and um, we instinct. When we act instinct, it is selfishness, and it needed. It's a selfishness that we needed. So we come from being completely selfishness, where we think I need to protect myself. I need to survive, our life. So in nature, you need to survive. We see animals in nature, how it happens, killing this because of survival. There's no protection, protect my life, do not die of starvation. There's two things. So if we think we came from this, it is selfish, but it's needed. Instinct are needed. It's not something that we can forget it. We need this. Instinct makes us alive, But it is, in essence, a selfishness act. Needed, but it is. And then we evolve to emotions and then sentiment. And as much as we evolve to emotion, sentiment, selfishness, it's become less and less because it's not needed. We don't need to protect ourselves, our lives all the time, because we all together trying to, live in the same, helping each other. I know we're far from that. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. The lion and the lamb, that's gonna be that exactly. The lion and the lamb is that, it's gonna have a time that the lion will not need to kill the lamb to survive. It's metaphorical. We can't see this now because we are not there yet. We don't need to worry how there. We have to worry how we're gonna get there. There is, God knows, is the future. Only God knows. It's not. If we are going to get there, but we need to worry how we are getting there. How long are we taking? So that's the most first, and then that comes selfishness and reincarnation. Why do we need to reincarnate? So consequently, those spirits, in purifying themselves through successive lives, share their selfishness like all the other impurities, because selfishness is just the root, but we have vain, jealousy, greed, seven capital sins. Yeah. But anyway, in our own act of selfishness, we develop a lot of things. So as I said, we are not evil. We do evil acts. Consequence of our free will. We have a free will. We have free will. We decide we do evil acts, and a consequence. Sometimes we don't see the consequences on this time. Sometimes we don't see consequences on this time, on this life. Just go and sorry, my daughter. So, but it's gonna come. They said, God's justice, it's slow, and it is slow, because the image I put here is exactly the image that the algorithm that runs the universe. Sometimes it happens here, but we're not gonna feel the consequence. We're not gonna pay what we actually did in 2 or 3 lives, So that's why we see a lot of people get away. How they get away? Well, instant karma is not all the time. Sometimes we get instant karma, sometimes not. So that's why we need to trust the evolution. We know, and when we know that we have many lives, that we're gonna come back and try to fix as much as possible wherever we did, because wherever we do in selfishness is sometimes no, it's basically it's almost in only not the next that you did, the person that you did, but it's the ripple effect, the collateral damage you do. So I'm gonna give an example of collateral damage. um, I was watching this Netflix series about scams, and there was between the gamers a way that they scams, they were in a game competing between themselves, and one of the gamers would call 991 United States there, the emergency services, to or police to the house of the other gamer, saying something really really bad in the house has happening. Now, it would be this person would be the person you pay to call and make a very true call, with changing voices and everything, would be in a would call. And then in one of this unfortunate, that's a terrible thing to do. In one of these terrible things, the police went to the wrong house where there was a family living. The family didn't understand or anything, and police in the United States, they should be, we've been seeing, a little bit too much, taking actions without thinking, And I think the father of the family got killed, and it was in a way so traumatized that left the whole family traumatized. So the person, there's two persons who did this: the one that intended, the one who did, and the police actually. So this person here thinks that he didn't do anything. He just, called a guy to call the police, and the police call and killed. Those three are involved. Those three are gonna feel the consequences. And the family that happens, there was, I think there was two kids that lived. He was the uncle of two brothers who had, 6 months before lost their parents in an accident. Don't remember exactly. And a few months after, this niece took her life. She was, it was really difficult. And the nephew, talks in this, is the one who talks about the whole story. And we see clearly that this trauma, it comes on all his life. So this is the ripple and the collateral damage that we are responsible. So someone very use the free will, very selfishness. This is an act of selfishness. And suddenly 10 people, ripple effect, collateral damage. This person is responsible for all of them. And this person will have to come back, and it will be begging to do that. It's not that, to come and repair all this, you know. And we don't know when. It's gonna be many other lives, So that's the thing. Every time you always see like linear thing. Now we have to see more like network. It's always spread. One act is spread so much, it's like a ball that goes boom, point, 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 there, and come back to you. So this is, what happens. So it was an act of selfishness, very, very, so I gave a very example. So for us to understand, but this is applied just like the image there. It's applied everywhere, you know, all the ones involved, they are going to feel the consequences. Sometimes the consequences is what you did wrong, what we did wrong. So, and when we talk like everyone doing acts of selfishness, sometimes small acts of selfishness, we don't see the consequences. In this case, we see the consequence. So that's why I got this. It's easy to see, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes we think that it's just normal. I do this. Oh no, it doesn't mind, and this person doesn't mind. It does. Sometimes we don't want to show because we grown in a space that if you show that you don't like it, you're uncomfortable, this is a sign of weakness. We have to think a little bit more. Wherever we do, we have to analyze this. Wherever you do, there are consequences. So did I do something? And when we truly do that, really truly, this is between you, yourself, and God. No one else. No one else needs to be involved. I know, unless if you need help. Of course, there's psychologists, psychiatrists, people, professionals that can help you in this one. But this is more when you have traumas. We're talking about small things here. Our selfishness that makes us small and go slowly away from this finest sentiment that's love. From the finest sentiment, love, when we're going to call God's love. This is the unconditional love, you know, unconditional love. So we do all these things. So, bad things, evil things in act of selfishness, and God still loves us. Just like whatever my kid is going to do, I'm going to still loving them. Love them wherever they go, and I'm gonna do everything to help them, just like God does. So that's why when we are parents, sometimes we experience a little tiny bit of this love, this unconditional love. And coming back to, the love your neighbor as yourself, that's the unconditional love. And again, it's really hard. We don't need to be punishing ourselves because we can't. We are not there yet. But we are on the way. That's a little bit more comfortable, and it makes us slow down a bit and not pressure ourselves, because when we put ourselves at pressures, we don't think properly, we don't resonate, we don't analyze. We need the we need to be a little bit more cold when we analyze our actions, our acts, and we identify the selfishness we have there. And once we identify, you became to that step that you are aware. So it's the first step of improving, making, a better version of ourselves. We are aware that we do act in selfishness. And when we know the comfort that we are gonna give all the chances to repair this, it makes us, oh, okay, I'm gonna focus now on getting better myself, a better version of myself. But how do we tackle this? How do we tackle this? How do we get a better version of ourselves? So selfishness, it's not the opposite of love. Selfishness is just one thing. Selfishness is the root of every wrongdoing, every evil we do. It's root of selfishness. How do we tackle that? Charity. And that's why in Spiritism we say, our biggest say is without charity there's no salvation. Jesus came, we have God, we have Jesus, and we need charity. And we need charity because we need to tackle our selfishness so we can make room for love, this finest sentiment. It's going to take time. So charity and fraternity must become the basis of social institutions, the legal reasons between nations and individuals. Only then will individuals think less of their own personal interest, because they will realize that others have thought of them. So this is from the Spirit's book. It's about moral perfection. Moral perfection is like the spiritual development that we have tackled selfishness from our heart. Remember, it's our emotions that we have to work on. you know Once we work our emotions, we tackle selfishness, we come to much more elevated sentiments that comes to that will lead to love, the unconditional love. So um and that's why charity helps, but we have to think about, it's not a charity of just to free up your conscience, like give money or does not. The true charity, when you give yourself your, your time, you don't need to be, I mean, it's good to send money to charity because, this is reverted. Part of this will revert for people in need. It is. I'm not saying not, but this is not the charity we're talking about that's going to help you tackle selfishness. You know, it's the one that we truly commit to. Sometimes listening to a friend, sometimes, instead of keeping an argument that is not going to end in anything, it's just shut and say yes, because sometimes it's, and we live in a world today that, there's, this is my point's right, this is my point, this point's right, and they keep talking, discuss, and goes nowhere, you know, nowhere. So this this when we see that, we put ourselves in second place, this is the charity we're talking about. When we, resembles on, it's the unconditional one. I don't mind your position, I don't mind how you think, I don't mind how it look like. I put myself below you, so you can have or your way, pass along and do your path for your self-development. Don't judge. I don't I don't keep saying what it's right and wrong, because we are not the ones who say what's right and wrong. It's God to decide, not us. We sometimes, sometimes even the way we act between now, we want to show off for things, so those small things when we talk, when I mean, we don't need to be talking this all the time because this is going to be stressing. But when we, again, we allow ourselves the time to analyze, to resonate, to be aware, this step is really important. We allow ourselves time to back up a little bit and give, space for the others. Think of the others. So we are not going to be this perfectly because we're not perfect. We are human beings, and human beings make a lot of mistakes. That's why we are here. And we are all here. That's one thing we need to know. If we are here in this reincarnation, we haven't been good people on the previous one. Only a few of us only come here in a mission. Most of us are trying to, to pay back. So that's one of the things. And how we pay back, working out our selfishness, trying to tackle selfishness from our home heart, because we are selfish. We came from selfish, instinct. As I said, it's uh, the right reasons to be selfish because it's, you're protecting yourself. But then we live in a world that we don't need, and like in nature, you need, it's kill and defend, kill and defend. We don't live in this way in nature. We actually are the predators, and we are killing nature right now. So we don't need to be doing that, actually. We have intelligence much more to be working in better ways to treat our planet, in better ways to treat itself. And when we talk about charity, we talk about this. We think, yes, I'm gonna separate my rubbish. I know it's not perfect. I know, I still get buy a lot of things with plastic, but at least I'm gonna separate. No, it is something. I'm gonna try to make an effort to buy less plastic, less things that I need plastic. So this is the small things, This is all in charge because we're thinking on the other and not my comfort, the comfort of others, And in this way, we can, slowly accomplish the commandment, the second commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. We're not talking here to, instantly someone who hurt you a lot. Instantly, oh yes, I'll forgive and all good. No, you need your time to process, You need your time to forgive, And you should not forget, but you need to. And the reason you actually forgive, it's not for the other person, it's for you not to be suffering, because we suffer with that as well, with our traumas. That's why it's important to walk our traumas, because people who have been bad to us, they will have their consequences. It's probably not on this life, not the next, the other. They will, handle this to God, because God is much better doing that than us. And then we work ourselves. We work our trying to forgive. So this thing doesn't, stick as a thing that keeps you getting better a version. So when we talk about forgiving people who actually did bad things to us, it's not about saying you will right to, it's not just about that, He can go through his own life and if he's gonna keep this, he's gonna have to, he's getting his way to progress much slower. But then you forget that it's not mine. It's God's job. It's not my job. My job is to get on with my life and try, because bad things happen to everyone and it's not easy. When you have a trauma, it's not easy. So we need to get help. We need to do as much as possible to forgive so we can move along, you know. We There's things that we never forget. We cannot forget things that marks us, and it's definitely. But once you walk your forgiveness, this thing that happens when you remember, yeah, this was really bad, but it's not happening now. It's not my life anymore. I moved on and went on. So that's why when we talk about, loving our neighbors or ourselves, we need to to know that it's not exactly instant. We have to know God always work. It's not gonna be, in nature. If we Nature is the true work of God, that especially the ones we haven't touched. So in nature, nothing happens from one day to other. Season doesn't start. Spring is not going to start on 21st of March, which on the other side of the hemisphere is going to be autumn. No, it's all a process. Here in Ireland, actually, the spring starts in February, where in the rest of the Europe, it's gonna be, end of March. Oh, April, sorry, April. So in nature, there's nothing that is instant. It always take time. So if we allow ourselves to take this time to process, to be aware, process, take the steps and get help we need, we are walking on this commandment. We are doing this commandment. It is. We always think, oh, this command is hard. I can't do. Don't say that. We are working every day on the small things, and the big things need time. It will need time. So, and that's why chart helps us, because chart helps us see when you do a charity walk, you go to, I don't know, a place that it's in poverty or something, and you do help. You realize that you've been really blessed. Or when someone helps you and you think, oh, someone thought of me, someone helps you with something simple. someone thought of me. This is how we tackle charity, because then we realize we're not alone. You're not the only person in the world. We can have help of others. We can help others. We can sometimes get help. We get help or help. This is we are all connected. We live in a society, in a community. You know, so when that's why charity is another one, because it helps us tackle selfishness, that helps us love our neighbor as ourselves. And we cannot love our neighbor if we don't love ourselves as well. So that's why we need to work our own things, our own uh, good. So that's more wrapping up what we uh, I wanted to talk about. Love your neighbor as yourself. So to love your neighbor as yourself, to do unto others as you would have to do them do unto you, express the most complete form of charity, because it summarizes all man's obligation toward his fellow man. So as long as we are two people together, we do have duties to respect. We are free in our minds and our thoughts, but we do need to think. As long as we leave another one, we also have to respect. And sometimes respect that person goes beyond than what we think is respect. So that's a different charity. So, and that's why charity helps us, achieve this commandment, because we're gonna think more of other than actually ourselves only. What right have we to demand that they behave in any better manner, that they be more benevolent or more devoted to us than we are to them? That is the question. Why I want, demand, anyone behave better, in a better manner than I am. Actually, I do. You know, that's why charity gives us tolerance. Tolerance brings us tolerance, brings sense of community, brings us, makes us realize we're not. We need each other. We're not alone. We cannot do this world alone. You know, and that's a purpose. This is our progress. We need each other, and we need to, live along, learn to live along. So that's one. I'll summarize with this one. Love your neighbor who doesn't look like you, think like you, love like you, speak like you, pray like you, vote like you. Love your neighbor, no exceptions. And when we say that, say like, yeah, there is a lot of people that we say, there's political uh, affection, the way it looks, the way it does, it behaves, and everything. Everyone's different. If you look in nature, diversity is something that we always have been. You always been diverse. This diverse. We just need today to be a little bit more aware, respect a little bit more, because what we think, it's okay for me, it's not okay for the other. That's this one thing we have. We have to be aware of, it is this okay for you or not. And every time we do something, we can be humble and say, I'm sorry, it was wrong of me, I'm sorry I said this, I'm sorry I did that. That is, and it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to do. I'm not here saying in a position that I can do that. I'm exactly in a position here because I know it is hard for me to do all this. And it's hard because we live in a structure, in a society that structures to look, one way, one model or something like this, and then everything different than that is weird, is strange, it's wrong. And it's not, because we always been this way. The thing is, we are much more aware today because is the process we're going through. We are in a process of transition. Things are going to be uncovered. Things are getting covered. They're not getting, oh, there's too much of this, there's too much of that. Now I can't say anything. Yes, that's right. Because that's the moment you have. You cannot get this wrong now. Because if you don't get this right, and I'm not saying perfect, just saying from now on, you need to embrace much more diversity than we ever embraced in life. So from now on, we need to actually go in this way, because if you don't go in this way, you're not fit for earth anymore. It's not that you're gonna die, but once after you're gonna die, you're probably gonna go to someone else, somewhere else that you actually are more fit to. So when we think the person that doesn't think like this, doesn't want to embrace what it's coming, it's it's just that, because God gives us all the chances, we need. It's just time now that we need to embrace again the diversity. So that's all. I'm going to talk about the bibliography, the Holy Bible. I use the English Standard Version of 2016, and I got from the Cross Bibles, publishing Minister of God, Good News publisher. So it's where I got the events. And I use the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 11, Love is your neighbor yourself, and the Spirit's book, Moral Laws, the Moral Perfection. And so just to finish, is this one? Yeah. Now our public meetings are, it changed a little bit here. Our public meetings are during the, now I'm going to go back here. Through Facebook Live, Facebook and YouTube, it's every other weekend, and every other weekend it's on site. So on site is 2A Irish Town Road, Ringsend, Dublin 2. And next Sunday is gonna be on site, because today is on Facebook Live. Now every Tuesday and Thursday we have talk shows at 7:15. This is through Facebook Live. It's always on our Facebook page, Spiritist Society of Ireland, and we have our study group. And we have the virtual pass. The virtual pass starts at Tuesday at 8:30. It's on our Facebook. You put the name on there's a spreadsheet there that you put your name, and our healers will do at 8:30 p.m. And the study group Wednesday via Zoom meeting. If you want to participate in the study meeting, the study group, you just send an email to spiritismireland@gmail.com. So for that, I say thank you for coming, and I'll do the final prayer. So if you want to sit comfortably, I'd like to thank God, Jesus, the spirituality for being here with us today. May your week be blessed and all your troubles be resolved in the way they could be resolved. Hope we have all a nice week, and so be it. Thank you. So that's all, and thank you very much. Bye.